The gypsies seek wide sheltering woods again, with droves of horses flock to mark their lane, and trample on dead leaves, and hear the sound, and look and see the black clouds gather round, and set their camps, and free from muck and mire, and gather stolen sticks to make the fire. The roasted hedgehog, bitter though as gall, is eaten up and relished by them all. They know the woods and every fox's den, and get their living far away from men. The shooters ask them where to find the game. The rabbits know them and are almost tame. The aged women, tawny with the smoke, go with the winds and crack the rotted oak.
This is a curious poem. I like it a great deal. And what I like about it is its sheer energy. First, the gypsies are involved in this, then they're involved in that. They trample on dead leaves and hear the sound, and look and see the black clouds gather round, and set their camps, and free from muck and mire, and gather stolen sticks to make the fire. There's just no stopping these people.
The horses are moving forward excitingly through the line to mark their lane and trample on the dead leaves and hear the sounds. Just those simple ands make think of the excitement and the activity of what these gypsies are doing.
And trample on dead leaves, and hear the sound, and look and see the black clouds gather round.
And look and see the black clouds gather round. And it's almost as if he's making distinction between those two notions, and indeed that's a distinction that may properly be made, in that Clare, of course, is the great poet of not only looking, but seeing, looking at the world as it comes to him and attempting to make sense of it by focusing on the thing itself.
And set their camps, and free from muck and mire, and gather stolen sticks to make the fire.
They seem to become an inseparable part of everything that is described. And this intimacy with the landscape, this interconnectedness with it, really goes against the conventional prejudice against gypsies, which is that they are outsiders. They arrive on your front doorstep, you don't really want them there. They don't really belong anywhere in that respect. Nobody wants them. But in this poem, the gypsies appear to know the terrain better than anyone else, and in that respect, they seem to have more of a right to it than anybody else.
They know the woods and every fox's den, and get their living far away from men.
It's not that he's dehumanizing them in any sense, or making them seem to be animals, though they're so closely associated with animals. Simply that they are other in an engaging way. Eating, for example, the roasted hedgehog.
I think probably gypsies didn't eat hedgehogs as much as people assumed they did, any more than Scots always eat haggis, but because it was a distinctive food that other people didn't eat, they were assumed to be eating it.
I remember when I was a child, always been taken by the notion of roasting a hedgehog, however grim that might seem. I remember the great gypsy recipe for the hedgehog had to do with rolling it in clay and baking it on a fire. And then, of course, the prickles would come off in the clay.
In some ways, of course, all of this is bolstering a fantasy about gypsies, which is that they are strange beings who appear to inhabit that threshold between the wild and the civilised.
The shooters ask them where to find the game. The rabbits know them and are almost tame.
The shooters ask them where to find the game. The rabbits know them and are almost tame. It's as if there's no real difference between the gypsies and the natural world that they inhabit. And I think this is conveyed particularly vividly in those very odd but very remarkable last two lines, where we're told about the aged women. The aged women, tawny with the smoke, go with the winds and crack the rotted oak. And what I think is particularly noticeable about this is that the women are tawny not from the smoke because they've been stained by the smoke, but they are tawny with it, as if they are part of the smoke and not simply marked by it. And they go with the winds.
They go with the winds and crack the rotted oak. It suggests their witch-like powers that they were sometimes given, that they can crack a tree. And to go with the wind suggests that they're as light as the leaves and as free.
The aged women, tawny with the smoke, go with the winds and crack the rotted oak.
Think how dreadful it would have been if it ended, the shooters ask them where to find the game and the rabbits know them and are almost tame, if you tried to tidy it up like that. But in fact the gypsies stay untidy, and the gypsies are still moving off and finding somewhere new at the end of the poem. In the movement of the old women with the wind, or the movement of the gypsies as they settle up the camp, there's this excitement and the promise of freedom.